Well, hi, Louise.
Hi, Sarah.
Here we are, season three. I mean, I say that like it was just a week ago that,
Yeah, but
our,
I was like thinking today, season three. Holy cow.
yeah, we went through two books.
Yep. I love it. I love my time with you. I was thinking about this morning. This is what I live for.
I
So
know. I know. Me too.
it's
It's
really
gives
nice.
me peace and
Mm-hmm.
fulfillment.
Me too. And all of the guests that write us and just
Uh-huh.
everything. So I'm excited because we're doing something different this season.
Yes, we decided for our listeners, we decided to do a memoir season, adopting memoirs of, and we're going to go through adoptees that have been on our podcast and have written memoirs. And that leads us to today's where we're starting.
Yep.
Very exciting. And she is such a compelling writer. She was just our guest a couple of episodes ago. We're doing A.M. Holmes, The Mistress's Daughter.
Yep. Can't wait.
And we'd love for you. So we're going to do this obviously differently because it's not, it's not going to be like a chapter breakdown. It's going to be more like we'll go through sections of the book and we're just going to talk about how we feel, how we relate. And we would love for people to read along with
Yeah.
us if you want.
We thought that'd be fun. Take a little break from the heavy, every chapter discussing it. We're not going to give anything away. So we won't say, this happened in the book. We want you to read it with us, but we'll just talk about our feelings. And then maybe people could write on our Facebook or YouTube,
Well,
send us an email.
we might discuss what happens just because
Yeah.
fair warning, like
Mm-hmm.
we'd love for you to read the book. We're putting a link to where you can buy the book.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, if you do want to read along and listen to us kind of discuss what she goes through and how we relate to it, that would be great.
Yeah, it'd be great. And today we're reading up to what? Page 29.
Yes.
And she has this broken down into two books, book one and book two. So we're not doing all of book one today, but we just kind of picked a place that was a good stopping place.
Yeah, we got to the place where the first conversation with her
Mhm.
with her birth mother.
And by the way, it was really hard not to keep going.
I know.
I was like, I just
we
want to
always
keep reading.
can't, it is like she's such a compelling writer that you just like I can't put her down when I'm reading her. So
Oh my gosh.
hope you're listening, AM. We love your writing.
All right. So The Mistress's Daughter. What did you think right out of the bat? What are your first feelings?
Well, full disclosure, I read this essay of Mistress's Daughter in the New Yorker when it came out, and like right around the time I met my own birth mother, I read this essay, and I related to it so much because of all the stuff I was going through with her. I was still so deeply in the fog and had all those mixed loyalties to my parents, my adoptive parents that, so I just would see my birth mother as like, oh, I just looked for everything wrong, So,
Yeah.
so I really related when I read it. I was like, no one's ever voiced how I feel quite like she did,
Yes. That's when I was reading this morning, I was thinking, these are words that I've never been able to really pinpoint what my thoughts have been.
Mm-hmm.
Just the kind of so exciting. Who is this person? Oh, and I didn't meet my birth mother. Even just with my bio family, I had that like, oh, how exciting. Oh God, no, that's not, they're not who I thought they'd be. That's not what I thought it was. And then
she really, she also, there's so much levity in her writing too, because when she's talking about what did she say? Hers is the most frightening voice I've ever heard,
because she was smoking. Wasn't she smoking when she called her?
She heard the flick, the sharp suck of air, smoking,
That was right after another favorite part of mine where she asked the lawyer, where does she live? He says, New Jersey, which, New Jersey, shout out to New Jersey. But she says, in my dreams, my birth mother is a goddess, the queen of queens, the CEO, the CFO, and the COO. Yeah. Movie star, beautiful, incredibly competent. She can take care of anything and everyone. It made me laugh because it was right after New Jersey. I'm like, I love that, the levity part, because there is levity in it.
Yes.
And the thing I felt most from just the first 29 pages of this, it was holy cow, were these two people. As soon as she gets this information in her 30s, I think she's 30 something. I might be
31. Yeah,
31.
31.
I was
Same age
32.
I was when
Me too. And I wish we knew each other then, actually,
I know.
because I think we'd go through it a little differently if we had.
I think so too.
I didn't have anyone to share with that helped in that way. And I just remember having the same feelings of like my mom and my dad being so upset and crying, and I love them to this day. I love them, but just feeling so like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Like, what have I done? Why am I so sorry? Right. And
Responsible for their
responsible.
feelings. Yeah.
But then at the same
Well, and
time,
I mean,
like,
she
give
says
me
that in
the
here.
information,
What does she say in here? It's one of the, well, this is sort of a different segue, but that, it's one of the pathological complications of adoptions. Adoptees don't really have rights. Their lives are about supporting the secrets and the needs and desires of others.
Yeah. I thought that was actually very poignant. That was about the lawyer reading the letters first.
Yes.
Right. So everybody's opening her mail and reading everything and saying, this is what you should feel, or this is what you should think. Here, I'm sending you this. And she's like, this is actually my life. Thank you very much.
I mean, that happened to my brother Todd, when he and his birth father had to communicate through the adoption agency. They would open them up, and if they saw anything that might reveal they would block it off with like a marker.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
They redacted it.
Yeah.
God. I mean, the power that people have over the baby is really surprising to me. The neighbor. So I don't want to give too much of it away, but there's a neighbor who goes in to help get the baby from her biological mom to hand to her new mom out on the street, kind of because it was a private
like a drug
brokerage.
deal. It was like a drug deal.
Like you're buying an illegal ticket to something or a drug.
Yeah.
And later in life, she finds out that's her next door neighbor her whole life. And she asks her about it, like, because you met her. So she wanted details. I would too. Like, you've met her. You're the person all these years I've lived next to you, and you know my biological mom. And the first thing she said to her was, well, you're not going to dig anything up about this, are you? This kind of thing.
I know.
Like, lady, this is like 30 years later. What do you think is going to happen to you?
There was this, the ethicist in the New York Times.
Oh, yeah.
Who is never, he's always, it's weird. There's been a lot of questions about adoption lately. Today's question was, and he kind of answered it right, but then he also didn't. But today's question was an adult saying, I found out my older brother is adopted, and my parents never told him. Should I tell him? And their parents did not want him to tell. Like, so this kid, he'll be a late discovery adoptee, but his whole life without knowing he was adopted. And now his brother's got this heavy thing on his shoulders, and the parents are like, no, you can't tell him. And so he's asking the ethicist, should I tell him?
That's your brother. You got to tell him.
And what
it's his right to know.
Yeah. So,
well, and she had that too when her parents, they do sound lovely, her parents actually. And they said, well, we debated whether telling you that she's contacted the lawyer. And she's like, there's no debate,
Yeah.
Thank God that answer won.
And then they threw away all the letters of the correspondence.
Yeah, she talked about that on our episode.
Yeah.
Because, and it's interesting, the way she writes, I actually saw why. Because you're thinking of that new mom, terrified. Like, that's my baby. There's no proof that it's not my baby. So, but it's still, it's like you have the empathy, but then you're like, what? At the same time, that's how great she writes. You can have the two things feeling in your head at once.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was very sad. I'm excited to read more, actually.
I know.
I might cheat, Sarah.
You can cheat. I'll probably cheat too.
Well, I can't wait for our next guest. Oh, our next guest is interesting. This is going to be fun for a season opener.
Yes. Very fun.
So welcome to season 3.
Happy to be here.
See you soon.
See you in a minute.